Still working my way around the layout, sawing up wood, trying to get to the end. Spectacular fail here, they say. Measure twice, cut once, but it turns out measure 3 times, cut twice. I measured for that piece of wood 3 times, wrote it down, went down to cut it, and managed to misjudge it by a good 10 centimetres. So that's pretty much a waste of a piece of wood. I don't think I'll be able to use that for anything. Yeah. Beautifully cut though, to say. Just cut wrong. So a few little details. This is now a trapdoor because when it was just 2 separate boards, I just was lazy and I wasn't slotting them in when I came up, and yeah, it was still a great big dangerous hole. So it's now a hinged trapdoor, so it's easy as soon as I get up just to close it and reduce the risk of injury. It was quite obvious in a few other videos that there are some cables coming from the light and a few other bits and bobs, and I was trapping them against the wall the other side of the baseboard for the line there, but they were really going to get in the way and there was a chance that they'd get hit by trains coming past. So I've just, if you can see, this one was the real problem because there wasn't space here. You can see how close the baseboard is to the truss. So I've just jigsawed out a little hole so that the cables can go down. I'll pin them to this truss, and then it'll keep them out of the way. They cross onto it much higher, so that'll have no effect. Over in this corner we've got baseboard covering now, ready to go further up. I've just jigsawed a tiny little bit out of the corner of this one here because this could well be where the outer line is coming across from the yard and onto the edge here. So because it's still only at about 80 centimetres high at this point, I thought I'd just make a bit of clearance so that if a train does come, if there is a line carrying a train coming across here, there's space for it to pass. Just as I'm going round screwing everything, fastening everything down now, something I maybe didn't mention before, these planks that were cut to bridge the gap, if you like, from one side of the layout to the other, there's just a little bit left over. You can see there from where the baseboard that's gone across the top of it finishes. I've got these supports to keep this end at the right height cut and fastened now. So the idea is, now this baseboard goes on top, it just rests nicely there on top of the very edge. Obviously it's got supports for its other corners, but here it rests right on the edge of the plank that's come across, and that obviously gives me a better chance of an absolute smooth transition from one support or one set of supports to the next. And on the subject of these supports, I really found myself quite inadequate in sawing them and keeping the surface flat after I'd sawn it. I could just about saw in a straight line, but I seemed to be really struggling at keeping the saw straight and not sawing, actually having the saw at an angle when I cut. So I ended up kind of using 2 blocks. What I'd do is I'd find one that had a decent, that's not a good example, that had a decent flat end, and then I would clamp it to the top of the block that I wanted to cut. So say this is the line I want to cut here, and then sawed it with the top bit clamped on it down here, so that the top block acted as a guide and kept the saw straight, or straighter. I had much more success that way. But if I do on occasion end up with a somewhat unintended angle on the top of a block, at least if I put it in the direction that the incline's going, I'm minimising the damage, I guess. So now I have a completed circuit of baseboard, at least, going up to the top there and coming from the other side too. I realised it was a case of lowest common denominator, in that the height of what will be the upper deck was in the end determined by the lowest of the two heights as the two ends came around, because they weren't calculated at the same rate at the same time. Turned out this one was a bit higher. I think this one, you can probably just see against the wall there, it does raise a little bit as it goes towards the end there. You can just see it compared to the breeze block pattern. So actually I think at this point this bit of baseboard is coming off at a higher point than the one at the other end, so the height was determined by the maximum that the other end could get to, which turned out to be a pretty respectable 118 millimeters, I think, which, bear in mind I was aiming for 120, wasn't that bad. I know what happened this end, it ended up at about 130 something, so it really calms down after it gets past one of those 2 points. I think it really settles and hardly increases at all at that point. These are my last bits of baseboard now, really run along the near side down here. The 2 bits over here, that bit there and the equivalent one over there, are actually going to be the upper deck there. When it's all ready, they're going to join up to there. But I need to work out what I'm going to do down here with the storage first. I would like to use that space under there, because this is pretty narrow really for, if this is going to be the width I've got for all the storage, it's only really going to be 5 or 6 lines, especially coming in on 2 separate lines. So I would really like to have something going underneath this bit, stopping obviously being this side of where the points are up there, but yeah, I'd like to have something up there. My idea at the minute is to replace those plastic feet, the 3 ones there, sort of take them off, hold the board up, shove these boards underneath to the point where they're still leaving the point work, or what will be the point work, exposed, and then run tracks underneath. I think what I'll probably do, these 2 pieces here don't need to go on for a while, because I'm not going to be doing the upper deck for a while, so they can just stay there. But this bit will need to be fastened down, because it's going to have the point work coming up from the inclines, and I want to be able to get track down and test the inclines, test the points and everything, so that will all need to be fixed down. So I'm thinking of doing it is actually putting maybe 2 or 3 pieces of straight long track on one of these 2 of these baseboards, and then shoving them back. So it'll be open-ended, there'll be nothing, you know, the track will be disconnected on this side and that side, but I'll wire it up, I'll put all the droppers on it, and then shove it underneath there, so that whatever I do decide to do with the point work down here and lead to it, I don't need to get under that awkward bit to lay the track. It'll just be there and waiting to be connected to. So I'm still experimenting with these plastic feet that I think are furniture feet, for kitchen furniture, but what I liked about them was that they're adjustable. They come, because they're adjustable, they can be at a height from either 100 millimeters to 120 millimeters, which is right in the range that I need for both the last part of the incline and the raised upper deck when I'm laying that around as well. At the moment these are all balanced, and obviously because they're not designed for this use, I'm having to adapt them a little bit, but they do seem to be working as I need them to at the minute. So I'm gonna, I guess I'll go for that the very end one, and actually no, I think that one's fastened, so the middle one of these 3 I'm gonna aim to get fastened to the support that it's on. So if I just come over here, I'm gonna have to take both of these very carefully, bits of baseboard away, and then pull this one. So this is at the right height, the height that it's meant to be, so I'm going to try not to adjust that, but there we go, that's the block. So what I need it to do is I need to be able to fix it to the truss, and it has no screw holes on the bottom, so the idea is to drill through these upper things so that I can get screws in. Just got a small drill bit to make life a bit easier for me. I'm gonna, while trying not to unscrew it anymore because it's set to the right height, I'm gonna pull the head off, and then I'm just gonna try and put 2 drill holes in one and 2. So now there are 2 visible holes there that I can put screws through. I've got a couple of screws here, So I'm just going to feed them in so that they're ready to go and not fall out. And just set them off. I need my screwdriver bit in. See, the back one will be harder to get to, so I'm just going to set them on their way, hopefully in a straight line. So we'll screw in to the truss as neatly as possible. That's as good as I'm going to do. Over to the truss, beam, support, whatever it is. Make sure I'm on the right line, which is just past there. Get my thumb out of the way. And I haven't drilled a pilot hole, just, there we go, there's one. To start with, I'm not drilling them all the way in, just enough to hold it in place. I'll try and get round the back. And that's already pretty sturdy, I think. As long as that's straight, which it is, that's at least the foot secured. The next job is to not only just to put this head on, head here, but also get the baseboard that's going over the top of it marked so that I can line up those screw holes with it once it's on the top. So now with it secured to the beam and the head back on, I'm going to try and get the baseboard secured to the head. I think, I haven't actually tried this yet, but I think the easiest way to do it's effectively going to be, first of all, I know it doesn't really matter, but turn my bit of baseboard upside down with a pencil. And see if I can just draw around the edge of that support while there we go. And with this lined up here, I can see that's the one that it's matching to. So I'm going to draw 2 pilot holes in there. I'm going to try to drill right through. So now in theory, it's back on here and that facing upwards. Those holes should align, so if I did grab a couple of screws, and I'm sure I did, I've lost them now. Got a little bit of countersink on these. Line it up again. Place them and try my luck. Aligned, I think. Going into something. And that's fixed. The screws have come right through the pilot holes. You can see there, the screws have come through and they're now holding the board
onto the support.
So I think these feet do have their uses, especially when they're not extended at all and at the lowest and they're not screwed, they're really very sturdy. Once you start getting to the point where you have to extend them a little bit, you can see that one is there, where the screw threads meet. They do rattle a little bit, but once they're all kind of secured because they've got this bit of baseboard joining them all up, they really are quite sturdy and secure. There's a little bit of wobble there, but I think there would be anyway if it was on wood. Yeah, they weren't expensive. I think about maybe I think £15 for 20, something like that on Amazon. So I'll probably carry on using them. I think over here there's a place for them, and sometimes you need something else. So as I was talking about down here, there's these bits of baseboard here are going to end up shoved underneath there. So these, although the back 3 feet are secured, these ones are just freestanding. They do take up quite a bit of space. So where there's certainly convenience in that when these baseboards here get shoved back, I can just screw these threads up 12mm and they'll still stand on the baseboard. That's like a lot of convenience, I guess. But because I'm going to want stuff coming under here, I think these are too wide, so I'll probably replace the front ones with something like this. This one's cut slightly too short, but just offcuts that'll stand and hold the baseboard up. But on saying that, in the plans I had all the neat storage lines kind of coming off the main lines as they come in. It probably won't quite look like that because of all these support beams coming across, in that I can't put point mortars over the top of those beams. So actually there will be gaps where there's just track where it navigates its way over these beams before I can start the point mortars again. But that is now all of the baseboard for the incline, all the supports it needs, in place, screwed down, fastened. So maybe it's taken a little bit longer than I thought it would, but still not too bad. I think today's Tuesday. I think it'll be 3 weeks on Thursday since the electrician finished, so it's not bad considering I started with a bare loft then. But yeah, now all of this support work and baseboard is in. It's time to get track down, because before I start laying any more track, I want to make sure that this incline works while it's easy to get to, while stuff's easy to rip up if I have to rip it up. It's now time to get track down and see if I can get trains running. So for now it's goodbye woodwork, which I'm quite pleased about, and hello to electronics, which I'm also quite pleased about, because I think really the potential of the Arduinos and everything that they can do was really what got me motivated to start this layout. I think if the prospect had been the same as the old layout, the Pico solenoid motors and a physical panel and with the switches, I maybe wouldn't have been all that motivated to do this. But the idea of all the electronics, the servo motors, relays controlling the electro frogs, the Arduinos themselves, programming them, and then going into automation, block detection, sensors, all that kind of stuff really interests me, and I'm really kind of fancying going to town. Anything that will plug into an Arduino and work on the layout and have an impact on the layout, I think I'm going to try. So that's the direction I'm going in now. I'll keep filming what I do and see how far I get. I've got a few potential brackets for holding the motors under the baseboard, which I'll try, see which ones are best. I'll go into why I'm thinking about either one of these micro switches or two, and why I might need one or two. I need to get all of the bus wire through, both for DCC control and for the CMRI bus. So there's loads of electronics now, which, like I said, is what's motivated me and why I'm doing this. So there'll probably be quite a lot more to come.